we're seeing South Dade in the district duels, and
we're going. We're live here now. So, hey, TFWR, we're live with another one of our Florida coaching legends down there in Southwest, right in the middle of Dade County. And he's got a great program that everybody seems to keep secret. So he's going to talk a little bit about that. But so, as a wrestler, he spent his years wrestling at Southwest. If you don't know that, he was a wrestler there also. He qualified 3 times for the state tournament. He placed twice.
Yeah.
As a coach, he's had his team in the top 4 5 times, second this year. He's created 69 state qualifiers, 37 state placers, and 9 state champs. So please allow me to welcome Mick Arteaga. How are you, Coach, man? Thank you so much for coming on. Talk about this time, and then obviously we know going through the pandemic and everything, and talk about how the family is, how your kids are, how your wrestling community is, and what you guys are doing to keep their mind right.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me on, Daniel. This is I've been watching a bunch of your shows. This is a great show, great thing for our state and for our sport as well. So it's awesome to be on here.
I appreciate it.
So I've seen a bunch of your other shows. I saw the Armistice on yesterday as well, and we're all pretty much. It seems like we're all on the same platform right now. We're all dealing with the same issues. So we're all in a handicap. Kids are they're trying to do stuff on their own time, and wrestlers are a different breed. So speaking to the other coaches in my school, the football and the baseball coach, they're like, oh, I'm worried my kids aren't going to be in shape, or they're not going to know what to do. I'm not going to speak for everybody, but as a wrestling coach or being a wrestler, you kind of feel confident that most of the kids are doing something, So I know my kids are running and lifting and doing stance in motion, or buying home mats and trying to do something on their own time, watching videos. So that's all I'm promoting.
What do you recommend more? Do you recommend kids that need to put on some muscle? Maybe they're at that 13, 14, 15-year-old age. Do you tell them to focus more on weightlifting than the stance in motion, or do you tell everybody split it up, do whatever you can do?
So I'm actually a weight training coach, and I've always been So it's that's been my secret passion. Is actually just as much as I like wrestling and coaching is weightlifting and that part of it. So I've always been big on that. I've always made an emphasis on all my teams to lift year round. Whether it's the summer, the spring, or even in season. The week of the state tournament, we're lifting weights. National tournament as well. So I'm always big on hey, if you guys can grab a bar and some dumbbells, if you have a pull-up or dip bar at home, make sure you're getting those in. So I always preach that. And then, right now, I know a lot of my parents, I have them on a group chat, like most of the other coaches, and they're running out of ideas. So they started buying home mats. They're trying to get one-on-ones with each other and meeting up at each other's houses and doing some of that. It's great to see as a coach that they're antsy and they're getting ready to get.
Yeah, I know that with my son, he was, he's at that age where he's got to put on some muscle. So going into the off season, obviously I was really excited to see where he would get to after this off season, because he did his first ever off season last year, and it really made a difference. So I was super excited to see what he's doing, but he's been doing, outside with the weights and stuff, and he's been doing that since before the season ended. But I know that he got burnt out a couple weeks ago, and he called his strength and conditioning guy, and he's like, hey, look, take a week off, but don't take a week off doing nothing. With the times that you were going to hit the weights and do the pull-ups and do push-ups, go outside for an hour and run around with your brother, do cartwheels, play catch with the ball, just do something that kind of lets you be a kid for a week or two, so you can kind of get back into it. So I know that that's something too. You don't want to completely.
Yeah, I mean, I don't take a day off. So I tell my kids, if I don't need to take a day off at 32, then You guys don't need a day off. You guys can go 2 or 3 times a day and get a workout in and still be fine the next day, you know?
Yeah, and that's why he told them, look, if you don't want to do weights, I understand you kind of, but go out and do something, whether it's run around the block, whether it's jump on the bicycle. So he's been doing kind of that to keep himself together. So I know that something near and dear to your heart is Southwest High School, man. Talk about it. Talk about why it's always behind the curtains, and we don't get to see you up on the radar. You're on the radar, but it's like that little dot no one talks about.
No, I mean, I like it that way, to be honest, Daniel. It's a great feeling. I feel like we can compete with anybody in the state and anybody in the nation. We've shown that with with a lot of our results. But you know, at the end of the day, it's how you finish the season, and you know, obviously we haven't won a state title yet. We've gone close. We've finished very high every year. We've had a bunch of state qualifiers and placers and state champions pretty much almost every season. But you know, you're in the shadow of some big dogs, and you got to respect that. And obviously, when it's our time, it's going to be our time. But right now, you know, we're doing tough in the shadows, and we're doing everything we can. You know, we've gone out, we've wrestled the best in the nation, best in the state. We wrestled Lake Highland Prep in a duel, you know, a few years ago at their house. We drove all the way up to Orlando just to get a duel up there. And you know, we see teams like South Dade and pretty much every weekend or every other weekend in some type of way in a tournament or duel as well. So
it only makes you better, right?
Exactly.
I know that. I know you mentioned Lake Highland Prep. I know they're going to the prep circuit. What is that going to do for Florida wrestling? How is that going to help put Florida's name on the map, having them now go? I know everybody's traveled, you and South Dade and them and Jesuit and Lake Gibson and, you know, and so on and so forth, but not at that level, right? Where they're every single day going into these prep schools, right? So how is that going to help Florida wrestling by getting those? Also, they're going to come here to Florida, so you guys will see them.
Yeah, I think it's great. Like, I think you pretty much touched base on everything. I think it's great for Florida wrestling. I think hopefully all these kids that are leaving to Blair and Wyoming Seminar to get that prep national schedule, they can just stay home at least and stay in a school at least like Lake Highland Prep and still represent the state of Florida, and vice versa. I'm sure they're going to be pulling in some kids with the weather and location they're at to you know, why would you want to go up north and you know, be in snow for 6 months out of the year when you can live in beautiful Central Florida and still get the same schedule?
That's what Connor Beebe said. I said, what made you leave Illinois, the wrestling hotbed there? He's like, are you kidding me? I can coach wrestling and I'm 10 minutes from the beach. You can't beat that, right?
And like you touched on, I think it's also great for everybody else. You know, you're going to have, you know, as these other teams, we see them in tournaments and hopefully some duels, and, you know, you can knock off one of their top guys. That's going to be great for everybody else as well. If those guys are going on and winning prep titles or All-Americans, it's going to be great for everybody. You know, that's what I believe.
And it's good to hear that from, excuse me, from the coaching community, you know, because it's like the New England Patriots or the New York Yankees. Everybody wants to hate on them, but when you talk to people like that, other coaches that are in the sport, there's a lot of mutual respect there for everybody, no matter where you are at any level. So you've done a great job there at Southwest. So I know that you have a great program. I've heard the name several times, Eagle Empire. So talk about how, you know, your culture at Eagle Empire, your system there, and how it helps the high school and bring in kids that are ready to go.
Yeah, so when I first started at Southwest back in 2010, 2011, you know, we had, you know, 2 or 3 state qualifiers, you know, state placers, you know, a few of them. And it was a culture of working hard, being tough on the mat and wrestling, you know, anybody, anytime, anywhere. But it just wasn't a team atmosphere. It was more of individuals and a few guys buying in. So, you on my way to coaching at Southwest, I was coaching at the local feeder, the middle school, junior high, that fed into Southwest for those few years. And with me, it brought in the same kind of tradition and game plan and blueprint we've been preaching to those 3 or 4 kids that were buying into it every year. And now we have 10, 15 kids doing it every year. And now we have 25, 30 kids training in April, May, June, July, going to freestyle tournaments, going to New York with us. We travel to New York every summer for a camp and a tournament. It just became like you said, the culture changed because more kids started buying in. It was more of, here's the blueprint to winning. We had a bunch of guys, a few guys in the beginning that were successful with that blueprint. It was like, hey, do you want to follow these guys? You want to win those state titles? You want to go to college? You want to place a national tournament? You got to do what they're doing. There's no secret around it. So, we began with I would say probably that blueprint with about 10, 15 guys. And then in the off season, we started doing more with the junior high. And then, now every year we have about, 10, 15 freshmen that when I take them to tournaments, they're placing, and they're our number 2 or 3.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Yeah, talk about that, because I talked to Coach Dominguez, right? Dominguez, Miguel?
Yeah.
And I know he's like head of middle school, and he's passionate about it. And talk about how important it is to grow that middle school program throughout the state to help these high schools. And plus, you need that youth development. I just had Coach Charlie Morgan, and he said that we got to develop our youth. It's the most important thing that we do here is develop our youth in Florida and get them damn girls sanctioned. He said, and we're gonna be all right. Somebody just posted, Mr. Alfred Sands just posted that Arteaga is the most underrated coach, most underrated coach and team in the state. He's always got his team ready every week, and he's not afraid of competition. Alan Held says he's a stud. So you obviously have the mutual respect from your community. So tell me, I was born and raised in South Florida, but like what's his name? Born and raised in the county of Dade, right? Who is that? That big dude?
Trick Daddy.
Trick Daddy, yeah. I remember him. I remember Luke on 5th Street, just jumping off the steps and having fun. That was a long time ago. I think that was 93, 94. But there's a lot of competitive clubs in South Florida, from, all the way from South Dade up to Broward County and everywhere else. So I'm a kid that's in the middle of the state, in the middle of the county there, and I'm looking for a club to go to on the off season. Why do I choose Coach Arteaga and Eagle Empire?
I mean, I don't think you can go wrong with the clubs you mentioned. I just think it's about who do you want your kids to be surrounded by? I think it's always about more than just wrestling. My wrestlers will graduate, and I still have a great relationship with them, 5, 6 years later, whether they wrestle in college or not. They're going on, they're becoming firefighters. And, we just had one that wrestled at NYU for 4 years. Now he just got into med school, and guys that are doing stuff that it's bigger than the sport, that the platform that we laid out with them while they were with us, the short time, 4 or 5 years, 6 years that they were in our youth club, and all the way to the time they graduate, they instill that those great habits in other areas of their life. So it's more than just wrestling with us. It's like it says on my shirt, it's a brotherhood, it's a family. Everywhere you go, these kids, they're with each other in tournaments, traveling year round. But then I'm seeing pictures on the weekends, and they're going jet skiing with each other. They're staying over at each other's houses. They're playing video games till 3, 4 in the morning. It's a family at Southwest and at Eagle Empire. I think, I'm sure in a lot of other clubs and teams it's like that. But these guys, they truly love to be around each other and see each other succeed.
That's awesome. Yeah, I can see my arms are almost as big as yours. My Miami Hurricane.
There you go. That's
That's all about the U, right? Yeah. Hey, so talk about the growth of Florida wrestling in the last 20 years. You've obviously been involved since you were a kid. You wrestled from 03 to 06. We're in 21 almost, so damn near 20 years, right? So talk about what you've seen and how you've seen the sport grow in the state of Florida, and how competitive we've become, and how competitive can we be?
That's a great question, Daniel. I've actually had a lot of experience with that at my young age. I think when I started wrestling was in middle school and junior high, 6th grade. I was like every typical Miami kid. I grew up playing football and baseball since I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I didn't know the sport of wrestling unless it was the WWF on TV. And, you have an older teammate in football. I had an older teammate that wrestled in junior high. And, I decided to give it a try. And like Coach Dominguez had talked about, that junior high program that we have down here in Dade County, it's a huge plus. That's where most of my kids still come from. We just started our youth club at the Eagle Empire, meaning, kids in the elementary level, but most of our success has been through our middle school program. Our 2 middle school feeders have been top 4 or 5 in the county consistently. And it's just, we've carried that on to the high school level. So those kids getting that little taste in junior high helps us in high school. But what has grown in the state of Florida is the youth clubs. Like you said, now, before it was, if you wrestled 2 or 3 years in junior high, you had the upper hand. You somehow made it to the podium by at least your sophomore, junior year. Now we're having kids win state titles in junior high, 8th, 9th grade. And it was because they were running through that youth circuit, going and traveling year round. And now they're having parents that wrestle too. I wanted to point that out. We travel to New Jersey and New York every summer. Like I pointed out, we travel and we train with the Scorpions in New Jersey and Apex as well. And one thing I always tell people is, I'm looking at the practice facilities, and you have grandma dropping Johnny off at practice, and she's staying to watch and yelling technique. And she married a wrestler, and her dad was a wrestler, and Johnny's dad was a wrestler. And these are talking about 3rd or 4th generation wrestlers.
Yeah, I had Dubuque on yesterday, the assistant up at Princeton, and I asked him about it. His daughter started. He's like, she doesn't need me. Her mom wrestled, so she watches her mom on the mat. Her mom's out there coaching. So yeah, and he's a Jersey guy, so I know exactly. And that's been the common theme, Coach Arteaga. When I talk to people, they say, if you took our top 3 of every weight class, maybe even our top 5, and you took them anywhere in the country, they could compete. But the generational gap that we've missed, just because they're starting to come now, guys your age are starting to have children that were coaches, and those kids are starting to come up. Exactly. And we're starting to see that. You go to like Jersey and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Illinois and California, they tell me, I don't know this, but from what they tell me is, you get, like you said, you got 4, 5, 6, great grandpa wrestled, great grandma wrestled, grandpa wrestled. Like, you just have several. You're born to do it.
I look at my roster every year, and I always point out to the coaches, we always maybe have 1 or 2 guys that their parents wrestled, so meaning they're 2nd generation wrestlers. And those are all usually the better guys on the team, if their parents wrestled, whether they were any good or not, but they knew the background of the sport. They knew to start them early and stuff like that. Those are usually the better guys on a lot of these successful teams, guys that their parents or they had an uncle that wrestled. So right now, I'm always pulling in 1 or 2 guys every year that their parents wrestle. But, soon enough, you get a roster of 8, 9, 10 guys that, they're 2nd, 3rd generation wrestlers. Those guys are going to be at an advantage,
Yeah, so Shane McCall up in North Tampa, he said, man, he goes, I'm in the North Tampa area, and I keep hearing phenomenal things about Southwest. They have a great group of up-and-comers in that room. Marlon Tellez, very passionate and super organized coach. Alfred Sands, Mick's brother is the pitching coach at the U. Go Canes. All right, baby. John Mohina, very few, if any, Florida clubs can bring in a clinician like NCAA national champ Nick Suriano into their wrestling camp. Does that mean you've had Suriano down there?
Yeah, we've had Suriano the last 2 years. Like I said, you know, we always like to, we do the Disney duels every summer. And then the last 6 years, we've ended our summer with a little trip to New York and New Jersey. And we, you know, we see guys like, we go to the Rochester area, and we have, the camp is full of Cornell clinicians. We saw Yanni, we saw Gabe Dean, Max Dean. And then, you know, when we go to Jersey, we ended up seeing Suriano a few years back. And you know, these guys are just like everybody else. You see them on TV, you see them on magazines and their face on posters, but they're like anybody else. You see them and they're willing to give you their number. They're willing to come down and you know, Nick Suriano's pretty easy, man. You just tell them there's a beach, there's a pull-up bar, there's some Cuban coffee, and he was a go.
It doesn't get better than Cuban coffee from Miami. I know we have up here in Orlando, there's a place called Black Bean Deli in there. It's a Cuban family, so you can get some of that good colada, right? But it's not like when we were kids and we'd go down to like Calle Ocho and you'd walk up to one of those windows on the street and they'd give you, man, I remember for like $3 you got French fries and eggs and big loaves of bread, butter, and then shot cups of coffee. It was
you show up at our club and there's going to be Cuban coffee. You know, that's part of the routine. You know, the parents are watching and they're drinking Cuban coffee.
It's awesome, man. That's so cool. So I know that obviously something right now that is obviously close to everybody's heart and everybody's pushing for in the coaching world is getting the girls out on the mat. Not on the mat so much they're on the mat, they're with you, but it's really difficult to get to the next level. It's got to be sanctioned to where schools can really get these girls in the rooms in bigger volumes. So I know they're fighting for that. And what will that effect have on Florida wrestling and the growth of Florida wrestling?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know the whole politics, and that's probably one of the reasons. You know, one of the reasons our names isn't as big is I'm not into the whole FHSAA and USA Wrestling thing. I'm always out of that scene, so I don't know what's going on. But I think it's extremely important. I think it's a given that you have boys baseball, you have girls softball. You know, we've had football for decades. Now they have girls sanctioned flag football, so forth, volleyball, basketball, that stuff. So, you know, I mean, obviously we've had wrestling for, you know, centuries. It's you know, it's about time to just add girls wrestling. I think someone you need to talk to to get on the show is our club coach, Coach Desmore. He runs our nightclub for the youth. He's also big into the girls wrestling game. He trains with some of the top girls in the state.
Yeah, let's do it. Send them my link. Tell them to sign up, man. I'm down. I'll send it to you when we get done. I'll send it to you again. Yeah, man. I got to tell you, down in Miami, them Cuban girls are the toughest freaking girls I've ever been around in my life. So you get a room full of them, man. You're gonna compete. I don't care where.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, especially when I'm married to a Hispanic girl, so I get it. I'm like, man, she whooped my ass.
Good luck.
Yeah, I pray. I'm like, how'd I do that? But you know, growing up in Miami, I didn't have a choice, right? That's the culture. I grew up. I'm a gringo, but when I first met her, I was like, I speak Spanish. ¿Qué te pasa, bro? ¿Qué tipo no que you know, like I'm from. She's like, what the hell is that? I'm like, that's Miami. I don't know what to tell you. And so she had to work with me a little bit, but
we're in our own country. We're in our own country. We're in our own state down here.
I tell her, it was fun, man. Hey, so what was I going to ask you? I got stuff written down here. Did I miss anything that you wanted to talk about?
No, yeah, keep going.
Oh no, go ahead. There's a delay, so sometimes I talk over people. But what do you do?
No, I mean, I think you touched on a lot of great topics. The growth of our club, but Southwest has always had also a rich tradition. Coach Husk. I know you're getting him on. I think later in the week. He started off in the '70s at Southwest. We had Coach Pellegrini in the '80s, and he threw out some great. Wrestlers. I think they were, top 2 or 3 in the state, just like Coach Husk was in the '70s. And then, Husk at that time, he actually, this year in the district tournament, we hosted it at Southwest. He brought back 3 former state champs. 2 of them had played football at UM back in the late '70s. And then, Coach Pellegrini, that's now at Pace. He coached my coach, Coach Joel Mendez, who was a big part of the growth of our team. Victor Balmaceda, South Day.
Yeah, didn't he win 9 state championships while he was there?
Who?
Husk?
No, he won at South Ridge.
South Ridge, okay.
This was so he was at Southwest early on in his career. I think he was at ABC first, and then I think Southwest might have been his second stop. I'm not sure. And
yeah,
then,
he was at Curly when Curly was all boys. And it was over there. I don't know if it's still off of Biscayne Boulevard there, but my father and my uncle both went to Curly High back when it was an all boys program. My dad played football there, and I think that's where Husk was originally. When he first came in, he was like 21 or 22, and then he took over the wrestling program, and my uncle was in the wrestling room. So my uncle tells me about him.
Yeah, so we've yet to win a state title as a team in wrestling. Coach Husk took second in 1972. We've taken a few third and fourths, including I think 1989 with Coach Mendez and Balmaceda on that team. My sophomore year, we took third as well in '04. Back in the Oviedo run days when you had JD Robbins here a couple of days ago, and then a few years ago we've taken fourth and third. We've been flirting with our runner-up spot. We've just been maybe a match away, and then I think this year was just, we were right there. Fleming Island was on our tail up to our last match, and it was cool to come home with a trophy for the first time since 1972.
So yeah, you guys were the runner-up, right?
Yeah.
And who was first?
South Day.
So that's your division, but it was
same district,
but it was close because I remember being in the gym. And the big talk was, man, Southwest is creeping. And then South Day just kind of took it from there.
Not that close. One of the duels this year was pretty close, but not the state tournament. They ran away with that. We're still in the hunt to make a name for ourselves there. But we've got it. We've had some close duels the last 2 years.
Who's Des M?
That's Coach Des is the one I was telling you. He's a big advocate for girls wrestling in the state of Florida.
Have him come on because somebody just posted his videos have been great.
Yeah, and he's our club coach at night. He's the one with our youngins. I'm with the high school along with Coach Dennis Rabeau and Coach Martinez, Danny Martinez's dad. We focus on the high school guys, and Coach Des is
Danny's coming on.
Yeah.
Danny's coming on. He signed up. I forget what day, but I saw him. He signed up. I'd love to get all those state champion kids from this year. I know I've gotten a few of them, but so Alfred Stan.
I love getting Danny to talk.
Oh, hopefully.
He's a perfect silent leader. Straight A's. He's the hardest working kid in the room, never gets in trouble, but he won't say a word,
Hey, Alfred.
He might crack the joke. But
Alfred Sands is making a huge prediction on here. He's saying Southwest will win the 3A state championship this coming season. Bank on it, is what he's saying. I wonder what Duck is doing right now watching this.
I wouldn't do that.
Hey, Yeah, but that's good, man. It's so good to talk to you and meet you. Let me. I'm supposed to have Cater on next over at Gibbons. It looks like he just sent me something that he's going into a meeting right now. So I guess whenever he gets out, we'll try and get him on. But let's get the 10 questions. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're down by 3 going into the third period. You have choice. Are you up, down, or neutral?
You got to go bottom. You want to be a state champ, you got to go bottom. That's what I tell the guys.
Do you prefer folk or free?
I'm a folk style guy, but I understand the importance of freestyle and Greco as well. Yes.
Do you prefer headgear or no headgear?
No, I'm a no headgear guy, but in high school, I understand that that it has to be sanctioned, but I don't understand why college wrestling needs to have headgear. That's a no-go.
So Shane McCall says, I can't wait to see Tellez on the mat for you.
Yeah, probably one of he'll be top 3 as an incoming freshman. He's a very tough kid coming in. One of our, like I said, we have a lot of kids that we had 2 kids that came from JV last year and they placed at the state tournament this year. We have that every year. We have guys that come in as freshmen or they're second and third string and they make a run the following year. So we're always a very deep team.
I love it. And I'm guessing his dad, Marlon, is the one that he's been, man, between Shane McCall and Marlon and BB and Sentes and Nick Soda and Ricky and all these people, they send me people every day. Like I can't thank them enough. They're like, here's the phone number, call him. Here's the phone number, call him. I never imagined. I thought I was just going to be doing an interview once in a while, right? And it's turned to where I'm fully booked for every day.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So thanks to his dad. All right, so you've got one day available to train. Do you go to a Rumble or a clinic?
I'm going to Rumble. Yeah, definitely. Rumble. Got to see them scrap.
Who wins the rematch, Loudon Swain or Brian Shute?
Got to go with the defending state champ. Got to go with Shute.
You don't think he'll get let off again? No.
No, he's not. But I want to point out how the guy that lost 20 pounds for the match is a lot smaller than the defending state champ.
Yeah, how'd that happen? Which title holds more prestige, 32 or Fargo?
I know I'm gonna get killed for this one, but obviously it's tougher to win Fargo if you're wrestling both tournaments, meaning freestyle and Greco. I think that's been overlooked. If you're competing, it's pretty much in essence 2 tournaments if you're competing at both. But I got to go with Super 32. Just in the order of Greco. I think there's guys that are winning Greco that don't do as well at Super 32, and vice versa. And
then I try to ask this question too. How close is the knockout coming to being able to compete with those 2 tournaments?
I think you got to compare knockout to what it is. It's an in-season tournament. Those are off-season tournaments. You got to compare it to the Ironmans and the Beasts of the East. Those are the tournaments that are in a state serious season. I think that's where Coach Bird is probably aiming for it to be the toughest tournament, like Ironman and Beast. And I think he's on the way, man. I don't think anybody runs a better tournament than Coach Bird. He's a great dude, and he has some of the best support in the state.
I can't get any of those Osceola guys on. I like them. I love Ortiz. They've all sent me the coach's phone number, but they're like you guys. They're like quiet in the corner. They won't come out and speak. I try to get the Bush brothers on at Freedom. What they're doing is amazing. Can't get them on. They're like, we just want to stay quiet in the corner. Okay, all I can do is ask. So what's more dominant, a pin or a tech?
I'm going to go opposite. As a coach, you want team points. You got to go with the pin, man. I know dominant is a tech, and it's embarrassing to lose by a tech. But as a coach, I'm shooting for all my guys to get pins.
Yeah. Ethan Basile said, if you get tech, man, you got to reevaluate your life. He's not wrong. He can say that, right? So you prefer wings or a burger?
I'm a burger guy.
So if we were talking like Cuban food, would you, or Cuban coffee, do you go like the colada or do you go the cortadito?
I'm going colada. I probably have a whole colada to myself every morning.
That's awesome. And they still do like the fried beefsteak with the white rice and the French fries down there, man.
Of course, and you can find that anywhere.
So would you go like arroz con gandules or arroz con frijoles negro?
Negro.
Negro. Hey, people like that. I keep telling my mother-in-law, that doesn't mean I don't like your gandules. I love them. But I grew up in Miami, and I tell people, I remember my dad when I was a kid, he'd take me and get me a little bowl of white rice and black beans at the little Cuban cafes down there. So
it's never little. Anything you order from a Hispanic restaurant, it's gonna be for 2 or 3 meals, 2 or 3 servings.
Yeah, you give them $1.50, you think you're getting a little couple pieces of bread, and they come out with a huge Cuban loaf this long, sliced into 4s, and you can share with all your friends.
That's what we actually did with Soriano the last 2 years. We took him to a local Hispanic restaurant, and he was like amazed by the portions. He's like, we don't eat like this up here.
No, and you can find it. I know when I was a kid, now it's been 20-something years since I lived down there, but even when I was a kid, you could find, and the best places were those little hole-in-the-wall corner spots where you still sit up at the counter and mom and dad are behind there, and they bring you out the big plate.
Yeah.
And I think they know you're skipping school, but you're like, don't tell anybody. This is you're not supposed to skip school, kids out there. So don't listen to what I'm telling you, but it happens every once in a while. We didn't skip school. We left early. We were on the OJT program, so we'd leave at noon.
Or you guys used to get to drive for lunch. You had to leave the campus for lunch, I'm sure.
Yeah, that doesn't happen anymore, right?
Nah, not even close.
Man, it's great. Well, hey, so what you guys are doing down there, down south, is unbelievable, man. I've talked to a lot of your coaches. I've got Arteaga, who's another South Florida coach, coming on, and man, I love to see the 305. Man, I love to see them shining and everything they do. I've always been a 305 guy. I say the 305 made me. The 407 raised me, but 305 made me. So I'm still.
You need a shirt like that. You need a slogan.
Yeah, on my arms, right? That's awesome. Hey, man, thanks so much for coming on. I love everything you guys are doing. So, like I tell people, I a month ago I knew about this much about wrestling, and now I know about this much. So I'm learning. And I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, that coach said this. That club does that. That coach, and I'm like, how do I know that? Oh, shoot, because I'm talking to him. So I was like, hey, I actually sound like I know what I'm talking about now.
The wrestling community is great. We've gone on trips and we've stayed at facilities for free just by messaging forums and chats, and people saying, yeah, stay at our house, stay at our wrestling facility. I know one time we stayed at JD Robbins' facility with the Jets for 2 days, and he didn't even charge us a dime. We just slept on the mats and sleeping bags.
Yeah, Chaz said that he's got the gym open for you guys now. When you go down there to the Keys, you can sleep in the gym.
We used to do that when I was in high school. We used to go to the Key West tournament, sleep in the gym.
That's awesome, man. He was such a nice guy, man. I was so happy I got to talk to him yesterday. All you guys, you've been down there, and you were that generation that wrestling was really nothing. And now you guys are coaching squads and you're coaching clubs and you're watching Florida compete. I mean, I had Pat Lugo on, #1 kid in the country, Florida kid, You see McGowan in high school, and Busakis, and these kids at Blair, Julian Ramirez, and Omi Acosta, and who'd I talk to with Pat Lugo? Brett Lee Reyna. You see, now we got the Basiles going out. I mean, there's all these Florida kids. The two twins are going to Campbell.
We have two of my former wrestlers. We have Franco Valdez is in Chattanooga, UTC, and then Alex Urquiza is at NC State. And then we had one a few years ago, Yoansi Mejias. He was a 2-time Division I qualifier for Oklahoma. So yeah, man, I think the more these guys get on the Division I level, guys like Pat Lugo was on the cusp of winning a national title. That's going to be raising the bar for the rest of Florida, putting us on the map.
And listen, and this is the kid that showed you don't have to go right to Iowa out of high school. You can go to a smaller school like he went to and do your thing, and then get your opportunity. So that's what's been great about having all these NAIAs on and these Division IIs on and these club coaches on, is that I don't think the world knows the opportunities these kids have, and that's why I've been trying to do this. So, and any of you Florida wrestlers out there, whether you're in high school or you're in a college across the country, or you're a coach somewhere, hit me up, man. I don't mind. I had someone yesterday was sending me people's numbers, and I said, why don't you come on? And he says, well, I haven't done anything amazing yet. I'm like, well, do you have a good story? What does wrestling mean to you? What has it meant to you? And he says, it means the world to me. Without it, I'd be on the street or something. I said, well, then you can come on. I don't care if you've won a state championship or not. Let's talk. I love it.
Yeah, that's what makes us one and the same, is this sport.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. Well, hey, you take it easy, man. And hopefully the next time I'm down in South Florida, I can hit you up for a colada.
Yeah, anytime. Come by to our club.
All right. Yeah, man, I'd love it. I'll bring down my son. Hopefully we get to where the clubs can open up again. I've got the coach at Dale Cody coming on next week to talk about the USA rules and what to do to open up and things like that and what they're doing. So that should be good for all you guys to hear.
Yeah, I think I saw in the news we're in phase 1 now, starting next week, Broward and Dade County.
I mean, he sent me like 38 pages, but I was like, I'm not reading 38 pages. Want to come on? I guess if I was a coach, I'd read the 38 pages, but I don't have to do that.
You're gonna get a lot of questions that day to be answered online.
Yeah, that's cool. That's like when I do Ask the Ref, man. I want people to, I'm hoping during the season and when wrestling starts and I'm still doing Ask the Ref, that's when we get some like videos on that he can break down, and some people will like what he has to say and some people won't, right? Yeah. So, but I think it'll be better for the sport that, whether it's a ref that made a mistake and gets called out, or it's a coach or a parent that is just acting ridiculous and was wrong. I think it's going to humble people. So it'll be fun to watch and learn the rules. If you're going to complain, that's what I got to say. If you're going to complain about a call, know that is a rule or not a rule.
Yeah, as a coach, you love to get the text messages from parents and when you're in the corner of the mat. And I didn't think that was 2. Why didn't you argue that? Or you shake your head. It's like,
oh yeah, I remember. Well, you're a baseball kid, obviously, with your brother. And I remember the Little League signs used to say, if you feel like you can do it better, volunteer.
Yeah.
So you're welcome to come volunteer if you think you can coach them better.
Yeah, everyone's a coach. You just got to get them a whistle.
Yeah, I've learned the hard way. I was yelling at Daniel and I had to learn the hard way. So I've been getting better and I stay up in the stands. So, all right, man. Peace. Hey, thanks for everything you're doing, and I look forward to meeting you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate everything.
All right.